What if the post you just liked, shared, and screenshotted, the one that made you furious, the one that finally told the truth, was engineered by a bot farm, amplified by an algorithm, and designed by someone who has never once told the truth in their entire life? Buckle up, because the disinformation machine running your social media feed in 2025 is smarter, faster, and more invisible than ever before. Folks, you need to talk about something that is happening right now, on every platform, in every country, in every language, and most people don't even know it's being done to them. Disinformation in 2025 isn't some fringe problem for academics in tweed jackets. It is a full-scale industrial operation. We're talking AI-generated fake personas, foreign state actors, domestic political operators, radicalization pipelines dressed up as meme pages, and platforms that are, let's be honest, not exactly rushing to stop any of it. According to the Austrian Institute for International Affairs, 64% of the global population actively uses social media, spending an average of 2 hours and 19 minutes on it every single day. That is 2 hours and 19 minutes of potential exposure to content that someone, somewhere, deliberately crafted to mess with your head. So what exactly is going on? Let's get into it. All right. Here is what the researchers and watchdog organizations are officially telling us, and even the official story is wild. The ADL's Center on Extremism, which tracked disinformation tactics throughout 2024 and projected trends into 2025, identifies several key strategies now dominating the information space. First, generative AI is now a disinformation superweapon. Extremists and bad actors are using AI tools to create propaganda at industrial scale. Fake images, fake audio, fake video, fake news articles, all designed to camouflage hate behind a veneer of professional polish. The ADL specifically flagged AI-generated content as a top-tier tactic for spreading false narratives in 2025. Second, conspiracy theories have become an economic product. The Austrian Institute for International Affairs notes that social media platforms operate on attention-driven economies. The more outrage a piece of content generates, the more it gets amplified, and the more money everyone involved makes. Disinformation isn't just politically motivated, it's profitable. Third, social media has fundamentally altered political discourse. Platforms like X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook have become the primary arenas for political debate, bypassing traditional media gatekeepers entirely. That democratizing potential, which sounds great in a press release, has a dark side. Anyone, including hostile foreign states, can now talk directly to millions of voters with zero editorial oversight. Fourth, coordinated inauthentic behavior, fake accounts, bot networks, and organized troll farms working in sync remains one of the most powerful tools in the disinformation arsenal. These networks manufacture the illusion of consensus. A fringe idea looks mainstream when 10,000 bots are all shouting about it at once. Fifth, marginalized communities are disproportionately targeted. The ADL's research shows that disinformation campaigns in 2024-2025 specifically weaponized false narratives against Jews, immigrants, and other minority groups, using emotional manipulation to radicalize audiences and normalize extremist views. And sixth, the geopolitical dimension. State actors, and the research is very clear on this, are actively deploying disinformation as a foreign policy weapon. The Austrian Institute's 2025 report calls for urgent global attention to the role of social media in geopolitical conflict, noting that misinformation now directly shapes public opinion about wars, elections, and international alliances. The mainstream verdict: the problem is real, it's accelerating, it's being powered by AI, and the platforms have massive financial incentives not to fix it. That's the official story, and it's already terrifying. Now, some researchers and critics, people who are not conspiracy theorists, let me be clear, are pushing back on parts of the mainstream disinformation narrative, and their critiques deserve airtime. Critique #1. The disinformation label is being weaponized politically. Several scholars argue that the term disinformation is increasingly used as a partisan cudgel, a way for governments and institutions to label inconvenient speech as dangerous misinformation, without clear, consistent, or politically neutral standards. When one side's verified fact is another side's dangerous narrative, who exactly gets to be the arbiter of truth? Critics worry that heavy-handed disinformation enforcement ends up being applied asymmetrically. Critique #2. Platform solutions often make things worse. Some researchers point out that algorithmic content moderation the platforms go to fix frequently suppresses legitimate political speech, particularly from marginalized communities, while failing to catch sophisticated state-sponsored disinformation. In other words, the cure has side effects that rival the disease. Critique #3. Users aren't as gullible as the narrative suggests. A growing body of media literacy research argues that the public is more resilient to disinformation than the mainstream panic implies. Studies suggest that most people, when given context and tools, can identify manipulative content. The ADL and others are now investing heavily in media literacy education, an acknowledgement that empowering users may be more effective than top-down censorship. Critique #4. The financial incentive problem goes deeper than anyone admits. The Austrian Institute's report makes clear that disinformation spreads because it's economically rewarding for platforms. Critics argue that until the business model itself changes, until platforms stop profiting from outrage, no amount of fact-checking or content moderation will fundamentally address the problem. The platforms have little structural reason to fix a machine that makes them billions. All right, we've done the academic part. We've cited the sources. We've been very responsible. But now, folks, now we've got a special guest who has thoughts, many thoughts that were not peer-reviewed. Tinfoil, take it away.
I appreciate the introduction. Let's start with the obvious one that nobody in their official report wants to say out loud. The disinformation industrial complex isn't just run by bad actors. Some of it is run by the same governments asking you to trust them about disinformation.
Oh, here we go. The government is behind the disinformation about disinformation. Incredible. Classic.
Look at the timeline. The United States military openly ran influence operations abroad, documented, declassified, not disputed. The same AI tools, the same fake persona networks, the same bot infrastructure. Why would they only use it overseas?
You cannot be serious.
I'm completely serious. Follow the money. The same contractors building counter-disinformation tools for government agencies are building the disinformation tools. Sometimes it's the same company. Sometimes it's the same building.
Get a load of this. Same building. What building? Does it have a spooky name?
It has a government contract number. That's scarier. Second thing, the dead internet theory.
The what?
The premise is that a significant portion of what you experience as the internet, the posts, the comment sections, the viral content, is not generated by humans. It's bots all the way down. A simulation of human discourse designed to manufacture consensus and keep you scrolling.
Okay, but that's actually not that far from what the ADL literally documented about coordinated inauthentic behavior. You're not even in fringe territory here.
Exactly, that's the point. The fringe is catching up to the facts. Third, the attention economy isn't accidental. The outrage machine, the algorithm that pushes the most enraging content to the top, was not a bug that emerged organically. Internal documents from multiple platforms showed engineers knew exactly what they were building.
Okay, that one I believe. Those documents are real. That happened. You're not even being conspiratorial right now.
I know, that's the whole problem. The conspiracy theories and the documented reality are converging, which brings me to number 4, the fact-checking infrastructure.
Oh boy.
Who funds the major fact-checking organizations? Look at the donor lists. Major tech platforms, major financial institutions, the same entities whose narratives are being checked. When Facebook funds a fact-checker that reviews Facebook content, who exactly is being held accountable?
I mean, you're not wrong that it's a weird arrangement. I'll give you that one. That's uncomfortable.
I don't want to be right. I want someone to answer the question. Fifth, AI-generated synthetic media, deepfakes, voice clones, AI news anchors, is already being used in active geopolitical conflicts. We are right now at the beginning of a period where nobody will be able to verify whether anything they see or hear is real. And the platforms rolling out AI tools the fastest are the same ones profiting from disinformation.
Okay, now you're being a little doom-why.
I'm being accurate. Doom-why and accurate are not mutually exclusive.
I hate that you have a point. So let's lay it all out on the table because this is genuinely fascinating. The mainstream researchers, the critical academics, and even the more grounded conspiracy-adjacent claims all actually agree on more than you'd expect. Where they agree, AI is making disinformation faster, cheaper, and harder to detect. Everyone says this. The ADL says it. The Austrian Institute says it. The independent researchers say it. The platforms profit from the problem. No serious analyst disputes this. State actors, governments, are active participants in disinformation campaigns. That's documented, not speculative. Coordinated inauthentic behavior, bot networks, fake personas, is widespread and effective. Where they diverge, mainstream institutions argue that better regulation, platform accountability, and media literacy can meaningfully address the problem. Critics argue the incentive structures are too deeply broken for incremental fixes. Conspiracy-adjacent voices argue that the solution infrastructure, fact-checkers, content moderators, government counter-disinformation units, is itself compromised. Mainstream researchers say that while imperfect, these systems do more good than harm. The mainstream largely frames disinformation as coming from bad actors, foreign states, extremists. Alternative voices point out that legitimate governments and institutions are also active players, a point that's harder to dismiss when the documented history of state propaganda operations is taken seriously. The uncomfortable truth: the mainstream view and the fringe view are not as far apart as either side would like to admit. All right, here's where I reluctantly put down the megaphone and just give it to you straight. Disinformation on social media in 2025 is a real, documented, and accelerating problem. That is not a conspiracy theory. It is the conclusion of multiple independent research institutions with trackable methodology and cited evidence. The tactics: AI-generated content, bot networks, emotional manipulation, coordinated inauthentic behavior, algorithmic amplification of outrage, are real tactics with real consequences for real elections, real communities, and real people. But, and this is important, the response to disinformation also carries risks. Poorly designed content moderation silences legitimate speech. Institutional fact-checking carries its own potential biases. Governments that call for fighting disinformation are not magically exempt from spreading it themselves. History makes that abundantly clear. The smartest thing you can do, not as a partisan, not as a cynic, but as a functioning human being navigating this environment, is to slow down. Check primary sources. Ask who benefits from the story you just saw. Notice when something is making you furious, because fury is the fuel disinformation runs on. Media literacy isn't just an academic buzzword. In 2025, it's basic self-defense. The machine is real, but so is your ability to think critically about what it's feeding you. That's the disinformation file, officially closed, unofficially wide open. Drop your theory in the comments, hit subscribe if you want the next classified briefing, and remember, the truth doesn't care if you believe it.